Hi, it's Dwyer from GamblersAdvisory.com. Our viewers have asked us for more comments on the Kelly Pavlik-Bernard Hopkins fight. Let me just first add that boxing is a gladiator sport. In every one of the fights we analyze, there is a possibility that either guy can win the fight. We recognize that we're giving you our opinions based on our review of the fighters, their records, what they have done, what we believe they're capable of. Now, that said, there's a split between myself and the viewers who have voted on gamblersadvisory.com, as well as the viewers who have emailed me on this fight. The viewers overwhelmingly believe that the winner of this fight will be undefeated Kelly Pavlik, who is 34 and 0 with 30 knockouts. He has knocked out 88% of his opponents. Um, of course, I'm taking his opponent, Bernard Hopkins, who's 48 and 5 with 32 knockouts. The Kelly Pavlik crowd has emailed me and has told me that there is simply no way that Bernard Hopkins will be able to keep up with the pace set by a 26-year-old. They have advised me that nobody in boxing hits harder pound for pound than Kelly Pavlik, and that Kelly Pavlik is the bigger man. Kelly Pavlik 6'2", Bernard Hopkins is 6'1". Both of them have the same reach of 75 inches. So the Kelly Pavlik crowd firmly believes that Kelly Pavlik should be the favorite in this fight. He's a minus 350. Bernard Hopkins has fluctuated from a plus 275 to a plus 300. So just understand, the betting public is firmly of the mindset that the younger man is going to beat the older legend. We still believe, though, I still believe that the winner of this fight, and I'm predicting the winner of this fight, will be Bernard Hopkins. Kelly Pavlik's record shows that no one he's fought except for Jermaine Taylor, who's a bit of an enigma and who is very inconsistent. Nobody that Kelly Pavlik has fought is close to Bernard Hopkins in quality. Edison Miranda, who was the biggest feather in Kelly Pavlik's hat before he fought Jermaine Taylor, was thoroughly exposed and discredited by Arthur Abraham, the 160-pound middleweight champion from Germany. Let me also point out, too, that Arthur Abraham is someone who we actually feel more positively about than Kelly Pavlik. Let me also point out that Bernard Hopkins' reports of his demise have been greatly over-exaggerated. Hopkins, just last year, in July of 2007, fought and beat Ronald Winky Wright. Now, Winky Wright is one of the harder fighters to beat in boxing. Most observers feel that Winky Wright beat Jermaine Taylor in the fight they had that was called a draw. If you look at the judges' cards from that Winky Wright fight, you'll find that Bernard Hopkins won by 4 rounds on one judge's card and 6 rounds on the 2 other judges' cards. In other words, Winky Wright dominated that fight. The fight before that, Bernard Hopkins dominated that fight. The fight before that, Bernard Hopkins fought and beat Antonio Tarver. If you look at the judges' cards, Hopkins won by an average of 9 rounds on each of the judges' cards. Let's fast forward to earlier this year when Bernard Hopkins fought Joe Calzaghe. Joe Calzaghe won that fight by split decision. I would encourage viewers to actually sit down and watch the fight here on YouTube. Look at the first 8 rounds of that fight and try to figure out which rounds, if any, Joe Calzaghe won. Kevin Io, who's very respected, he's the sports journalist from Yahoo Sports, gave Joe Calzaghe the last 4 rounds of that fight and still scored the fight for Bernard Hopkins 114 to 113. Many at ringside believe that Bernard Hopkins won that fight. Now, keep in mind, I'm firmly of the belief that Kelly Pavlik is no Joe Calzaghe. Kelly Pavlik is a good fighter. Joe Calzaghe is a great fighter. Kelly Pavlik throws 2-punch combinations. Joe Calzaghe throws 4 and 5-punch combinations. Kelly Pavlik comes in straight on a line. You know where he's going to be. He doesn't turn a fighter much in a fight. Joe Calzaghe is all over the ring, much more mobile. He turns boxers like a top. I would encourage you again to, on YouTube, take a look at the Joe Calzaghe versus Mikhail Kessler fight. You'll see that Joe Calzaghe is a PhD level fighter. Kelly Pavlik, quite frankly, is still in college. So, just based on styles, too. Uh, First of all, there is no evidence whatsoever, none, that Kelly Pavlik, who is a middleweight, and that means he fights at 160, there is no evidence that his power at 160 is going to translate to power at 170. We don't care if he's bigger or not. There is simply no evidence. He fought Jermaine Taylor in the rematch at a higher weight, depending on reports, 164 or 166. He could not drop Jermaine Taylor. In fact, many people who were at the fight, including Vernon Forrest, the super welterweight champion, Vernon Forrest believed that Jermaine Taylor won that fight. Jermaine Taylor made some simple adjustments. Bernard Hopkins, a student of the game, I'm sure has studied that Jermaine Taylor rematch. He made some simple adjustments, and Kelly Pavlik was unable to stop Jermaine Taylor. Now, Pavlik is gaining even more weight to fight Bernard Hopkins, a guy who's harder to stop than Jermaine Taylor. And just based on styles, we believe Bernard Hopkins will be able to more than hold his own, more than stay in his feet against Kelly Pavlik, who, quite frankly, is a bit of a one-handed fighter. He has a great right hand, just like Tito Trinidad had a great left. Bernard Hopkins was able to completely neutralize Trinidad's left. We believe Bernard Hopkins has spent his entire career neutralizing fighters who have great punches in one hand. Keep in mind, he was not dropped by Oscar De La Hoya. Skill-wise, Oscar De La Hoya is much more advanced than Kelly Pavlik. So let's go one step further with the analysis. You cannot go on a boxer's record in judging the boxer because boxing's not standardized. Different fighters face different levels of opposition. So you have to go on what the fighter can actually do in the ring. One of the preeminent counterpunchers in the entire sport is Bernard Hopkins. Hopkins is a guy who, the more aggressive you are with him, the more he is able to counter you, set you up, use your aggressiveness against you. Now, Kelly Pavlik, God bless him, but Kelly Pavlik isn't ready for that level of a fight. We believe that Kelly Pavlik's going to come out. He's going to try to assert himself. Young guys always do. Kelly Pavlik might try to go for the early knockout. Young guys always do. The reason why these older guys are able to take the fight into the later rounds is because they're able to play defense, pick off punches, roll with the punches, and counter. And Kelly Pavlik is so exposed when he goes in for the kill that he ended up on the canvas against Jermaine Taylor. Let me also point out, too, that Kelly Pavlik is a straight-ahead fighter. When you look at his fights, he's coming straight ahead. It's as if he has rails on his feet. He's coming straight ahead. I'm not sure if he's ready to fight a guy who's going to give him angles, who's going to spin him like a top, who's going to keep him off balance. Now, boxing is replete with these great punchers who have inordinate power and who can beat you when they have you up on the ropes, like Kelly Pavlik had Edison Miranda up on the ropes. I encourage the viewers to look at films of fights such as Sonny Liston against Cassius Clay, the first fight.